It's very important to be aware of different cultures and their customs, because even something simple could be offensive to someone of a different culture, like the video that we just saw, where not taking off your shoes when you come into someone's house, it could be offensive in parts of the Middle East and Asia. Grabbing a cookie or touching someone with your left hand could be considered offensive because that hand is considered unclean. And sticking chopsticks straight up in a bowl of rice can be offensive in Asia because it is an omen of death. It looks like gravestones, so they associate that with death. Now, if you're thinking that there's nothing really that I do that's offensive, imagine you were having dinner with someone and they picked up their bowl of soup and started slurping it really loudly and eating really loudly. That would be offensive and annoying. But in Japan, that's considered good manners, and that's a sign of enjoying a meal. So different cultures, different things mean different things to different people. I've always found other cultures very fascinating, and I love spending time researching how other people in different cultures live their lives. Now, Americans are generally not viewed in good light around the world. We're viewed as fanatic patriots who don't take other cultures into consideration and expect other people to bend themselves to fit our views of how the world should be. Taking time to research countries that you can come in contact with will help reduce any sort of offense that you could meet, both in visiting these countries and entertaining guests visiting from these countries. Now, first we're going to talk about India. Second, we're going to talk about Japan. And then thirdly, we're going to talk about the United Arab Emirates, which has the city of Dubai. All of these countries are on the fast track in technology, medicine, and we see a lot of outsourcing to these countries. So these are all very important. You can come in contact with these no matter what career you choose. So first, we're going to talk about India. Now, one of the biggest things that you can do when you are introducing yourself to someone from another country, even though they speak English around you, it's considered polite to greet them in their own language, especially if you are in their country. So for India, the greeting is namaste. You take both of your palms together, your fingers under your chin, and you can add a slight bow to show respect. You say namaste. So India, very especially, you want to use your right hand for anything, whether shaking someone's hand, eating, anything like that, because the left hand is used for personal hygiene almost exclusively. So that hand is considered very unclean. You wouldn't want someone touching you with a hand that you would consider unclean. It's also impolite to whistle in public. India is a very crowded place, so you don't want to add to the noise. It's offensive to use excessive hand gestures, to be very flamboyant with your hands and your gestures. And it is rude to say no to an invitation. It doesn't mean you have to accept every invitation that you're given, but if you're not able to make it, you already know you're not able to make it. Just say, I'll try. It's going to be very difficult. We'll try to be there. Because it's very rude to just flat out refuse, no, we're not going to be there. Most places in India, most homes, you're not going to wear shoes inside. Most places will have house slippers for you to wear. So you're not going barefoot, but they don't want your outside shoes coming into their house. It's also could be rude to refuse food or drink. They're very hospitable people, big meals, lots of food and drink. You don't necessarily have to finish all of it. Most people will signal that they're done by saying namaste. And just like it's courteous for us to ask permission before leaving a table, it is courteous in India to ask permission before taking leave of a room. So next we're going to move on to Japan. Obviously very, very technologically advanced. We get a lot of technology from them. Their greetings, Ohio, it is a very casual good morning, or hajime mashite is nice to meet you. Now, when you think of Japan and greetings, most people think bowing. And most Japanese will still greet each other that way, but if you're going to do business in Japan, they will actually shake hands with Westerners, and they can consider it offensive if you try to bow to them. So Mostly just follow their cues. If they bow, then you can bow. But mostly they're going to ask to shake hands. Anything that is given to you or anything that you give to someone, you want to use both hands. It's very polite and it's very courteous to use both hands, especially in with business cards. Business cards are very important in Japan. So if someone hands you their business card, they'll hand it to you with both hands. You'll take it with both hands and you'll read it right then and there. Don't just stick it in your pocket and say, okay, thanks, I'll look at that later, because it's very offensive. It's very dismissive. I want to make sure no yawning in public, chewing gum, cell phone use, especially in public transportation, is rude because, like in India, Japan is a very crowded place. So if someone was coming in talking on their phone really loudly, if there's 100 people on a bus or in a subway car, it can get very, very loud very fast. And while it's not necessarily illegal, it is something that you want to take into consideration that it's rude. And the Japanese pride themselves on minimalism and keeping things as possible. So you want to make sure you're dressing sharp, nothing gaudy, nothing bright in color. And if you're ever invited over to their house, you want to not overly compliment them on any furnishings, any artwork, things like that. It can make them very uncomfortable because they try to be minimalistic. They try to be very conservative in both the way they dress and the way they furnish their homes. Moving on to the United Arab Emirates, which has the city of Dubai, which actually has the world's tallest tower. Most businessmen will shake hands with a woman if she is the one who initiates. If not, then they generally won't. And like India, United Arab Emirates, you want to use your right hand only. That is still, the left hand is considered unclean for the same reason. One important thing is you don't want to have the bottom of your feet or the bottom of your shoes pointing at anyone because that's considered very rude. Your feet are the lowest part of your body. They're the most unclean, so you don't want them to be pointing at anybody. So if you're crossing your legs, you're doing anything like that, make sure you're not pointing the bottoms of your feet at anybody. No PDA. If you end up over there with your sweetheart or your husband or your wife, no public displays of affection. It's can make people very uncomfortable there. Again, don't want to say no to an invitation. You can use the same, we'll try, or it might be difficult, but we'll try to be there. The United Arab Emirates is a very hospitable country. They're very big on hospitality, both in hotels and other places. So if you're ever invited over to someone's house, you want to make sure that you show appreciation for that. Gifts, as with all these countries, gifts are very big. Their most common, most accepted and appreciated are gifts of sweets, both chocolates, candies, things like that, both from other parts of the country and other parts of the world. And if you're ever invited over to someone's house there, most meals are eaten on the floor. With the exception of a few restaurants, there aren't very many tables and chairs and things like that. And so that's one of the big parts of their cultures. It's not offensive to eat on the floor. It's actually considered a great honor. So, again, as with all of these countries, these are all likely to be encountered in any career. Make sure you do your research before traveling or entertaining people from these countries. Most people are understanding that you're not part of their culture. You might not understand, but all will appreciate effort taken to conform to their culture or make them as comfortable as possible. And if you make a good effort, you can help avoid this. Thank you.
And thank you.